Good morning, MERGE. How y'all doing? Happy New Year. All right, stand up. Y'all know the drill. Come on. So we're going to start with a song called Lay My Burdens. We've done this a couple times before, but something we're going to get onto later in this series is the feeling of loneliness and just feeling like life is punched you in the gut. And this song at its whole is just about being tired of dealing with it alone. And so you go to God and you say, please take this weight from me. I can't carry it alone anymore. And so if you're carrying a weight this morning that you feel like you can't take, ask God to take those burdens for you this morning. Things that I'll never understand. The road I've walked that has made me who I am. Reminiscing with the picture on the wall again, reminding me just how far away I've been. I'm looking to lay my burdens down. It's something I can't carry anymore, and I'm longing to lay my body down beside still waters and find rest for my soul. My knees are weak and my mind is tired. I've taken every dream that lived higher. If there's a place that you have made for me that I belong, then let these dry bones arise to live and breathe your soul. I'm looking to lay my burdens down. There's something I can't carry anymore, and I'm longing to lay my body down beside still waters and find rest for my soul. Lay him down, lay him down. Oh, lay him down, lay him down. What once was dead has now come alive. 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 What Joey! you'll get to see what I'm talking about, but the series we're going to start today is about love. So I chose the first song that came to mind, which is this one. And you guys have already heard the story, so I won't go super in depth, but just as we're singing it, I want you to think about the times where you felt that symphony. The people who have given you a chance, the people who have just loved on you even when you didn't deserve it, the people who have acted like brothers and sisters, and just showed you who Jesus is. And that's what the song is really about. It's about that feeling. Heavenly Father, as we go into this new series, as we go into this message, God, I just pray that you would use me as a vessel, as a vehicle, and that you would only be your words come out of my mouth, God. I pray that I can give these students some tangible advice, some real-world situations, and they would walk out feeling different. They would be looking at the world in a new way. I love you so much, God. Amen.
Good morning, guys. So yeah, we have no bumper video, but it's for good reason. So we're starting a new series called Alone Together. I'm very excited about it. And we don't have a bumper video because I don't like to brag. I wrote the whole thing myself. Wow. No, so I'm very excited. This is a 4-week series about relationships, about love, everything in between. And basically, I just want to give credit where credit is due, because even though this is written by me, I took a lot of inspiration from a pastor I love named Michael Todd. He goes to Transformation Church. And if you guys think anything I'm saying is smart or insightful or whatever, and you want to learn more, I promise you he's saying it better than I am. So I will give you the link or whatever you need if you want to watch those videos. But this is a new series. It's called Alone Together. It's nice and sweet. So I said it's about dating, so I'm going to just ask really quick. So who in the room is in a relationship right now? Okay. Less than last service, but that's still a couple of you. So who's single? Ready to mingle, huh? The rest of you are supposed to raise your hand if you're not. Okay, that's fine. No, we were making fun of Eli last service because Eli told me a couple weeks ago that he thinks girls are gross still. So whether you're in a relationship or you're single or you're not even remotely interested in doing this, I promise that everything in this series is still useful knowledge for you. Even if you're not into dating at the moment, I promise you that I'm going to give you some good information. And I'm excited because, this is a church. I know, big surprise. And we do a lot of spiritual things. We talk about God and who he is. But this is a series that's very tangible. It's very it's not advice, but it tells you exactly how you can go on with your life. So like I said, we're talking about dating. So let me ask you this. Why do we date? Give me some answers. Why do we date? Love, companionship. Any more? Okay, perfect. So for starters, you got love and companionship. Those are great answers, okay? Dating's great, man. We don't want to be alone. It's nice. It's nice to be with people who understand you, who like the things you like, and they're showing you new stuff because you guys aren't old enough to drive yet, and so they're you're going to someone else's house and they do different things than you, and they listen to different music and watch different movies, and you're seeing more of the world because of them. And by the way, it is okay to say that. If you are dating, it is okay to just say, yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it. We have this thing where we want companionship. That was literally in Genesis. Eve was created because he looked at Adam and was like, he needs somebody. It's okay to want that and to recognize that. But I heard the real answer. Why do we date? If we look at it from a very real and no bullcrap area, dating has one purpose: to figure out who we are going to marry. Agreed? Okay, cool. So there's nothing wrong with dating. I just want to say that. But I want to tell you about something that you may or may not have heard about. Have you ever heard the phrase intentionally dating? No? Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to teach you something new today. So, intentionally dating it's a very simple thing. So basically the entire point of intentional dating is you're not dating just because you can. You're not dating just because you're trying to prove that you're this or that. Intentionally dating is saying, I am going out of my way to try and figure out who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. So you go into a relationship, and that doesn't mean every relationship's going to work out. It doesn't mean your first relationship you're going to get married to. It just means when you go in, you're going to say, okay, if it clearly isn't going anywhere, I stop it. And if it is, we keep going and we see where it goes. You get what I'm saying? Intentional dating. Yeah? Okay. So, I want to tell you what unintentional dating looks like. And I'm sure you guys are more than aware because I feel like I don't have to convince you that the world at large is not dating how God would want you to. Okay. So, we've all heard this. You guys know the divorce statistic? You guys have heard this, right? Who in here has divorced parents? A couple of you guys. So you guys have probably heard the statistic before. Did you know that in America, 50% of marriages end in divorce? That's 1 in 2, dude. Imagine going to, get on a plane, and it's like, yeah, I mean, if we make it, you made it to paradise. This is exactly what you wanted. But I mean, flip a coin, because, there's a 1 in 2 chance that it's going down. That is not good. And I feel like, so this is a very popular statistic. Most people know this. But I was doing some research, and I have some good news. Is as of 2020, that number is down to 42%. That's pretty sweet. However, I did more digging, and there's also a marriage statistic. So the divorce rate has gone down 8%. The people getting married, the amount of people getting married, has also gone down 10%. We're not really getting better. We're just becoming more afraid. We're just doing things at a slower pace. And I want to show you, too, because I looked at 2 separate studies. The one that gives me those numbers were from Harvard. And the next one where I forget what it was, but it was a Christian college, and it was this woman who did a study on it. And I have good news. Christians are statistically less likely to get divorced. The number is much lower than 50%, and it brings it down to 30%. Which, quite honestly, I feel like is still too high. Agreed? That's 1 in 3 instead of 1 in 2. But it does show us something. It shows us that when we live for God, when we put Jesus in the middle of our relationships, when we're intentional about it, there is a real change that happens. There is a real thing that can be observed. And finally, and this blew me away when I read it. I was actually it's one of those things where you just look at your screen for a second, you're like, are you serious? It turns out, this girl, when she was doing this study, people who say they are Christians, but don't live it out, people who are what I call Sunday morning Christians, they don't have a real relationship with God. They just say, oh yeah, God's real. They are actually 20% more likely to divorce than a normal Christian. But Joey, I'm 16 or younger. I'm not married. I know, and that's fine. But I want you to see what I'm seeing. Because what did I just say? If you're a Christian who doesn't actually live it out, you're 20% more likely over the 30%. Which means if you're not putting God in your relationships, you are literally backtracking 10 years. You are going back up to the 50% by not putting Jesus in the middle. There is a legitimate thing that we can see here. And here's the thing. We've established, like I said, dating is to marry. That's great. That's super cool. And I want to show you, this is one of the things that I took from Michael Todd, that pastor I was telling you about. He brought this way up of thinking about dating, and I've never thought about it the same way. So, who here has a job? Not enough of you. A job. Okay. Because everyone in the room except for literally Olivia and Zach and the 2 adults don't have jobs. Let me explain to you how getting a job works. So number one, you go to the place of business, or maybe you send them an email or you do it online, and you're like, hey, can I apply for your job? And then they're like either yes or no. And if they say yes, they give you this form to fill out, and you put all your information in. And if they like what they see on your form, then they're like, all right, let's give this guy an interview. Let's see if he's really up to the task. Okay? When you're dating somebody, it's like getting an interview. Because when you get the slip of paper where you fill out your information and they're like, all right, do we like this guy? That's like step one. Like if there's a girl that you like or a guy that you like, you know, you can walk up and you can be like, all right, he's cute. He doesn't smell. Rock and roll. On to part 2. When you decide that this person meets the bare minimum requirement for you, it's like, okay, you know, I like them. They're nice. They're cool. Okay? I think we're going to go on a date. And I know you guys don't work that way. I'll get to that in a bit. When you go on a date, it's like getting the interview. So when you get interviewed at a job, they're trying to figure something out. Okay, we need the guy or girl to be able to do this, this, and this. They need to be able to do this well and hold up to these requirements and have these standards. If they have those requirements met, then we give them the job. If they don't, we don't give them the job. Simple. When you're dating someone, that's what you're doing. Is you're saying, all right, you know, they met the bare minimum, but now let's put them up to the test. He's a pretty good-looking guy. Does he have good taste in music? Is he a Christian? Is he tall? And everyone's standards is different, and they'll change, and I think that a lot of it is very subjective. A lot of you who want men who are like 6'7" aren't going to get that. And guys have the same equivalents. But when they meet those standards, you say, all right, you know, I think I want to keep going out with this person. But when they don't meet those standards, we say, okay, you know, this was fun. You're nice. I'm not really into it. But that's not how we do it, is it? Because what happens when we've been understaffed for years? Because like I said, even though dating has the intent to marry, we do it because it's fun, we feel companionship. And it's a real thing, is that when you're not dating someone, there's going to be a point where you feel lonely, where you feel alone, where you feel, am I good enough? Am I not good enough? And when you get to this point, and maybe you've asked these people out and they don't reciprocate the feelings, and you keep getting lower and lower and lower, and you need someone to fill that job. And so your standards go down. And all of a sudden, you go on that date, you get the interview, and they're not meeting any of your qualifications, but they're there. And so we give them the job. And what does it do? It just causes problem after problem. Because they can't do the things that we needed them to be able to do. And like I said, I know this isn't how you guys operate, because you guys actually created a whole new separate thing before dating called talking. Y'all know how dumb that is, right? Okay. So let me put it like this, okay? You are not locked into dating. Now, don't get me wrong. That does not mean you can just go cheat on your boyfriend. Does not mean you can go act like an absolute jerk. But what I'm saying is it is not marriage. When God says we get married, he's like, that's it. You are locked in. Biblically, there is only one good reason that we're said we're allowed to get divorced. And even then, it's really still not encouraged. It's just allowed. And that is adultery. Adultery is basically the Bible word for cheating. Okay? When you're married, you're locked in. And hopefully that's a good thing. But when you're dating, you're not. Because I'll tell you something, guys, and tell me if you agree, almost every relationship I've ever been in, I've known within the first 2 weeks if it's actually going to work out. Straight up. That doesn't mean I end it, because like I said, I'm understaffed. So I make a stupid decision to keep them on. It's the ones where you think, okay, this might actually work. That's who you give the job. And you guys, your generation has made this talking stage that's supposed to give you no accountability. So you can say, oh yeah, I'm not locked into a relationship, so I can just end it if it's not working. That's what dating is. And I know that it seems like unavoidable. But in a very practical sense, I want to tell you right now, dude, next time you're interested in somebody and it seems to work, just straight up tell them, hey, man, I don't do the talking stage thing. I go right into dating. That's how I roll. If they don't like that, then they're not for you. If you have to convince yourself that someone is good for you, they're not. And I want to be clear, I'm not telling you guys, if you're dating, I'm not telling y'all to break up with your boyfriend or girlfriend. I'm not telling you that you shouldn't ever date. It's important. And I think it's so important for you guys. And that's what I'm talking about, intentionally dating. So if you find someone you're like, yeah, I want to give them the job, great. So go into that relationship and care about it. You guys know what's wrong and right. It is up to you to decide to do the right thing in those relationships. And we'll get to that later. In a couple weeks, one of the weeks is on that kind of stuff. We need to be intentional. We need to put Jesus in the middle. And here's the thing is, something I see a lot now is people are like, oh, well, I'm not dating right now. I'm working on myself. That's so awesome. Good for you. But are you working on yourself? If you're single in this room right now, which according to the hands earlier is most of you, dude, take this time. If you want to be a better version of yourself, do it. Please. It'll only make you better for when you do find that person. But I also want to say that when you're in a relationship, you can also better yourself. I literally know guys and girls who've broken up with their boyfriend or girlfriend, and they're like, yeah, I just needed to work on some things in my own life. You can do that in a relationship. It's called growth. You can go through things together. You don't have to do things alone. In fact, you shouldn't if you can. Now I'm going to tell you right now, so this series is compounding. You know what that means? Y'all go to math class? You know what compounding is? Basically, it adds on to each week. So I have all 4 weeks of this series written, and I'll give you the roadmap. So this week, it was technically on dating. You're going to get a lot more about dating in the next 3 weeks. But next week is about love. Week 3 is about sex. I promise I won't make it awkward. And week 4 is about loneliness. And each one is going to add on to the last. And honestly, dude, I could talk about this for hours because I have so much to say. And I'm pretty proud because I feel like God has given me some wisdom on the subject. But I just want you guys to know that there is a lot more I have to say, and I just don't have time this week. So please come back next week. But until then, I just want to pray for you guys. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for bringing these students into this room this morning. I pray that as they get older, as they get into more relationships, that they put you in the center. That they would think intentionally. They would follow the things you would have them do, God. I pray that their future spouses, their future husbands and wives, I hope they're doing good. And I hope that they would be ready for when they do come along, God. And if anyone's experiencing that loneliness, God, I pray that they would just be still and know that there's a purpose for it. God, we love you so much. Amen.
So, I know that it's just kind of like a thing, but I actually put some thought into why this image is going to be the still for the series. Yes, it is a piece of paper. It's kind of campy, so I want you to bear with me really quick while I explain this. When you look at it, there's two distinct different colors. You've got the black Sharpie that says alone, and it's got the broken heart. And I just had this, I don't know, I've doodled in class before. But when you're having a particularly bad day, you're just like, dude, I can't do this. But I added the pen because if you're feeling alone, I promise you that even if it doesn't feel like it, even if you're still working on figuring out what it looks like, God's going to come in, he's going to make sure the pen works, and he's going to write, yeah, but you're alone with me. And so we're going to end this service with a song called How He Loves. And it's simple, it's just a song about saying how amazing it is that we are loved so deeply by our God. But there's these lines that stick out to me when we're talking about this particular subject. There's a line that says, he's jealous for me. I don't know, man. That just sounds like he's filling in for someone. So let's worship God this morning.
Love's like a
walk out this morning